factor in this one, much like he wasn't in the NFC title game. So many questions leading up to the Super Bowl about why Gurley wasn't used much and how the game plan was going to go through him come Sunday. And yet, same story. Gurley had just 10 carries for 35 yards, leading some to wonder if he had been slowed down by injury. He was asked if anything was wrong after the game.
No, I was fine, man. I felt good. Kind of had a break low-key the last 2 months, so it's cool. I mean, you know, we do the physicals and all that stuff tomorrow, but I'm fine, though.
So when I first heard this, I didn't understand the answer. I'm fine, but there was no explanation why he wasn't big a part of the game plan, which he probably should have been. What did you make of Gurley's lack of productivity, Coach?
Well, Chris brought up a good point earlier. It's tough to get a lot of carries when you're making so few first downs. And did I think he would be more a part of the plan? Yeah. Do I think he should have been more part of the plan? Yeah. And what makes it tough is when they're loading the box the way that New England did, and when they've got everybody covered, and you know, it's one or two, it can be very easy to take a step back and say, hey, we got to do something differently here. I felt they should have stayed with that longer, or potentially get smaller and then run off of smaller personnel. So force New England to react to your personnel group, get smaller, and then run so that the box wouldn't be as congested. Or, look, if they're going to do that, then we didn't really see very many shots down the field. You know, try to loosen him up and then come back to Gurley. But for him to have only 10 carries when he's been, the numbers are staggering, right? At 15 carries in terms of their wins and losses.
Yes, 20 touches, 18-1.
Yeah, look, my goal would have been to at least get to 20 touches and see whether or not the probability stays the same.
Also, for as great as the Patriots defense has been this year and in this playoff run and in the Super Bowl in particular, I think it's fair to say one thing we have seen them struggle against is the screen game to talented running backs. It's one of the reasons you thought the Kareem Hunt loss was so big for the Kansas City Chiefs, because of his ability as a pass catcher. Even with Damian Williams out there, he hurt him in the second half. Todd Gurley has been, even though the last couple months of the year was not quite as prolific, one of the best pass-catching running backs in football. They threw to him once, and it was a check down. It's not like that was a designed screenplay. That was everyone's covered, I'm about to get sacked, let me throw it to the running back. If he's healthy, that has to be a part of the game plan. You know you can't run screen games to C.J. Anderson. And I fully believe we're going to find out. He mentioned it. You got a physical tomorrow. That's today. I would be shocked if we don't hear he's having some type of procedure, some type of clean out, some scope to his knee, because you're right that they didn't have a lot of plays. But he touched the ball in the first play of the game for the Rams. And then he was not on the field for the second or third series of the game. It was C.J. Anderson. He then got back on the field in the fourth series of the game. His best run of the night was negated by a questionable holding penalty, but that was later in the game. He has to be hurt. It's the only way it makes sense. And he was great in the Cowboys playoff game. Great. He had I think he had 18 carries. What was it?
7.2 yards a carry.
Yeah, 16 for $115 against the Cowboys. So maybe something he got tweaked at the tail end of that game. Then in the New Orleans game, he had the drop early, or two drops early. One led to a pick. So he wasn't fully healthy, and his confidence was a little shaken there. But for him to only have 11 touches in this game, that's one of the reasons, the biggest reason why, is the Rams' offense was not like itself at all.
I'm just going to refuse to believe it.
Refuse to believe what?
I refuse to believe that he's healthy. And the reason why is, why you give him $65 million earlier this year? Well, you didn't have to give him a contract for 2 years, Coach. So I give him $65 million, so I'm going to get to the biggest game in franchise history. He's only going to touch the ball 11 times. That's why, to me, I know that there's something wrong with him. You don't have a great player like this get to this stage. Just like last year. What about Malcolm Butler in the Super Bowl? We knew something was wrong with that, why he wasn't playing in that game. He was in uniform and on the sideline. Todd Gurley, indoors, inside the Mercedes-Benz dome there. He's on a bike. He's doing extra stretching. That's not a normal routine for one of the elite players that we have in the league. So even if they were trying to have a system where they were going to utilize both players, him and C.J. Anderson, the other players wouldn't be on the bike. This is not a routine. I've watched Todd Gurley play. I watched him play at Georgia all 3 years there. I've watched him play in the NFL. That's not something he normally does on the sideline. So for me, I know there's something wrong with Todd Gurley. I know he's not 100%. Most of the players out there aren't 100%, but they normally admit it. And the Rams and Todd Gurley aren't admitted.
So if he went out there in the first series and then he was out, but then he went back in, obviously the Rams know something. Do you think they adjusted accordingly? The way they used C.J. Anderson, did it look like that was the plan going in, since they must have known what they were going to get out of Todd Gurley?
Well, I don't think they necessarily knew what they were going to get out of Todd Gurley, and this information really needs to come out on Todd's behalf. Otherwise, you've got a guy that comes up small in big games. Right. That's going to become, hey, he's great during the regular season, but in the big games, you can't count on him. This guy comes up small, and so now let's see whether he has an injury. Now, if he has an injury, they could have some other problems, because there's a lot of gambling that goes on in these games. And if they said, hey, Todd Gurley's healthy, and he really wasn't, and they were hiding that information, that's a whole nother problem for a lot of people.
And I think that's why they keep their, for some reason or another, this is my speculation, obviously. I'm not reporting on anything, it's my speculation. I think it's pretty clear Todd Gurley was hurt. I think it's pretty clear, for one reason or another, the Rams did not want to put him on the injury report.
Well, because he was, for one, if you're practicing, if you're 100% go at practice, you don't have to be on the injury report. Now, as far as what treatment and everything you're getting, that don't have to be on the injury report. But if you're able to be 100% participant in practice. Now, I can be 100%, me and Coach know. But Coach know I ain't 100%. So I will get the reps, but I'll be going at a coach speed. I won't be going at game speed type of intensity in practice.
And I'm just surprised that if the way that he's taking it in stride, hey, I'm fine, you would think if he only got 10 carries and he was really fine, he'd be hot about only getting 10 carries. And he'd be hot about what happened in the NFC Championship game
as well.
But there seems to be an acceptance to it, and maybe that's his personality, but I don't know a lot of guys that don't want the ball.
This guy's the offensive player of the year in the league last year. Like, I mean, this guy is the most important piece of their offense. Not Cooks, not Whitworth, not Jared Goff. It's him. And you saw their offense the last couple weeks look pedestrian. One of the big reasons is they didn't have their best player, for all intents and purposes, in Todd Gurley.
All right, Coach, we'll see you a little bit later on in the show. Coming up, is Julian Edelman's playoff prowess playing him into the Hall of Fame? That's next on First Things First.
Schefter.
Yeah.